spinning the win forward. And it's like, well, what does this mean for the program moving forward for the rest of the year? You feel like they're going to win the Alcorn State game. And we're going to talk about that game a little bit here in a bit. They should beat Northern Illinois. It's not a surefire thing. That's obviously a program that expects to be able to compete with power conference programs. They go in and beat Notre Dame last season. They were competitive with Maryland this week and played a close game with the Terps. Now, I don't think Maryland's a very good team, but NIU expects to be a team that can compete with power conference opponents. Mississippi State's going to have to take them seriously and still give a good effort in that game. But you are going to be big favorites in your next two. You should be 4-0 going to Tennessee. And then we want to talk about like fan buy-in, the atmosphere in Starkville when Tennessee comes to town. And that's a game that could either be an afternoon or a night game. I hope that's another night game in Starkville. And if you're 4-0, it probably should be. That's going to be a crazy environment that, frankly, I mean, I'm going to try to be a part of. At this point, I'm saying I'm going to try to go to the Tennessee game and see if I can make that happen. That is a game that could be huge for the program. You want to start talking about continuing to build forward. And, okay, now you had this moment where you get into the national spotlight, and it's been really cool to see, like, the stories and the reactions come out to this game, like, you know, how much Mississippi State fans deserve this, how much the program deserved this, so the Starkville versus everybody mindset that people are buying into, all of the talk about how cool the atmosphere was in Starkville, and the reaction to just the crazy play and what that brings you. Like, you have so much attention. That attention gets even bigger if you're talking about you can go and beat Tennessee. And, I mean, if you're 5-0, I mean, who knows what this thing becomes. And we look the rest of the way for the season and, have expectations changed after the Arizona State win. Look, I mean, I had this team – I ultimately settled on 5-7 as my prediction. Could they still go 5-7 at this point? Yes. But, I mean, man, that'd be a disappointment to win. Assuming you win your next two, frankly, 5-7 I think is a disappointment no matter how you cut it, because either you're saying you win the next two and then you only find one SEC win over your final 8 games of the year, or you're saying you lose to either Alcorn State or Northern Illinois and then win in a couple other games. And I'm telling you, if you lose to either Alcorn State or Northern Illinois, no one cares if you win a couple SEC games. People are going to be ticked off. So I think expectations kind of have changed a little bit. Like, it is now 100% get to a bowl game. And I know there's probably a lot of you listening that are like, well, that was already the expectation for me. I was a little bit lower just because of where the schedule was at. My perspective was I can buy in on this team being improved enough to play at a bowl caliber level, but them being actually bowl eligible was going to be another discussion because of how difficult the schedule looked like it was going to be. Now, again, you should win your next two. So you have 8 games. Can you go 2-6 in the last 8? When Tennessee, I get, looks really good right now, but they gave up a lot of points to a Syracuse team that had to go to overtime against UConn. All right. Yeah. Like, maybe Tennessee's still not that good. We had questions about them coming into the season. I know the offense looks better, but, like, they gave up a lot of points to a Syracuse team that had to go to overtime with UConn. Look what just happened to Florida. I know that game's on the road, but look what happened to Florida. And that is a Florida team that going into that game has to play they still have Miami. They still have LSU. I think they play Texas and Texas A&M. Like, that is a brutal stretch of games for them before they have to play Mississippi State. Arkansas is still a team that they haven't done anything in 2 weeks because the two teams they've played, what do you take away? I don't think Arkansas is going to be that great of a team this year. So, and then Ole Miss has not looked incredible. So you start looking at these games, and it's like, man, you're going to have some opportunities. Williams says, maybe not an expectation, but the hope was a bowl game. Like, I think preseason, that was fair. Like, having a hope for a bowl game, I'm not going to tell people they shouldn't have had hope for a bowl game preseason. You could convince me of it.
But you have to change it now. You have to hope for it now because, like,
now it becomes an expectation, to be completely honest, which is I don't want to fully put that on. I still have to slow my roll because I do want to go. are going to go back and talk a little bit about what we have seen from the team so far as like, okay, what has been concerning through 2 games? What has been a positive through 2 games? How do we extrapolate that out further? But if you start off the year 4-0, man, you better find a way to go to a bowl game. And we're here assuming 4-0, and we could look really stupid in the next couple weeks if they don't. But they should be 4-0. Reese, beating Arizona State gives us a straightforward path to get to 6-6. We will push for 7-5. I still expect to go 2-2 at a minimum between Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, Ole Miss. I will say, Missouri is a team that preseason I just was like, you know what the heck? I'll give Mississippi State the win, largely because of where the game fell on the schedule. The game is between Oklahoma and Arkansas for Missouri, like road trips to Oklahoma and Arkansas. Mizzou looks good. Mizzou's offense looks a lot better than I thought it would, and they still got a good defense. That's going to be tough going on the road. Missouri looks like a much better team than I thought they would be. But as for Tennessee, Arkansas, Ole Miss, I would put Florida over Missouri as you're going to have a chance against Florida at this point. So there is absolutely a path to bowl eligibility, and it should at this point okay, get this thing to a bowl game. You get this win early in the season, you have to continue building off it. I think it'd be different if this game happened later in the year. If this moment was later in the year, it's a little bit different because it's you're not talking about starting off 4-0. But if you're 4-0 to start the year, you got to find a way to get to 6-6. And that's going to involve having to improve some things the rest of the way. But I think at this point, you're talking about it's got to be the expectation is now firmly a bowl game.
And the thing is, too, is you beat Alcorn State. Let's just call it what it is. They're going to beat Alcorn State. We get that. They're probably, I'd say, give them a 95% chance to beat Northern Illinois. This is a team that was pretty interesting and tricky last year. Ask Notre Dame. But you win those next 2. You set yourself up. You just got to win 2 more games. And again, like you mentioned, Florida looks so suspect right now. They did not impress me the other day, and it's to the point that even the Florida fans are chanting in the streets, "Fire Billy," And then you got Arkansas on the road. I haven't really watched Arkansas yet this year, but I'm sure that they're, bottom of the barrel in SEC. I mean, they're 2-0.
It's
We'll see
blowout
what they
wins
look like.
against. They played Arkansas State
Yeah.
last week, and then week 1 they played an FCS team.
Well, they're fixing to go to Ole Miss this weekend, so
we will learn a
we'll
lot about
see.
both of those teams.
We as Mississippi State fans and media need to watch a game like that because you take care of them. I mean, this is not about getting wins on your resume for the top 25 for the college football playoff. This is just at a minimum, you would love to have that. It'd be a dream come true if State could pull off some miracle season like that. It wouldn't be a miracle season at this point to make a bowl game. It would be expected, and that's where we set the bar right now is you win 6 games. I don't care what 6. I don't care what 6 you lose. Get 6 wins, make a bowl game, and depending on who you play in the bowl game, go out and win it, and then use that as momentum in 26 and so on.
It's definitely reasonable. And look, the other part of it is just the momentum from getting this win, what it means for you going forward. Again, that Tennessee game, if you're 4-0 going to Tennessee, that is going to be the best environment that Mississippi State has had in a long, long time.
Yes.
And last night was crazy. 2 nights ago was insane. But the Tennessee game will probably be even crazier, except we may not ring the bells the entire game because it's an SEC game and, can't get fined, which we did find out today. Mississippi State officially fined the $500,000 for the field storming, which who cares? It's worth it. You had to storm the field. You had to have that moment.
Yeah.
We'll find out if we hear anything about the cowbells, but I doubt it, frankly, because it was a conference game. The cowbell rule is mostly just for SEC games. So sucks to suck, Arizona State. Your fans can cry about it all you want. Look, you're going to get momentum out of this. Now, what I was talking about a second ago with the team and, what do we take away through the first few weeks? Offensive line has got to be better.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about it a little bit with the Blake Steen injury. That is a group that I think pass protection wise has looked pretty good to this point. But when it comes to run blocking, it's just really not been there. And excuse me real quick while I sneeze. I wasn't able to sneeze. So we'll see if the sneeze comes back. That's great. They run blocking has just not been great. And now look, Arizona State is a very good team when it comes to defending the run. And that's part of what they want to do. That's their philosophy on defense is take away the run first. But State's got to be better with this going forward. And yeah, the beauty of a live show. Love it. Reese, attendance for North is 50,000 for Arizona State. Cut up the goalpost into one-inch bands. Charge everyone $100, including a certificate confirming what it was. There's your $500K. Love it. Yeah. Make the absolute most of it.
Fair enough for me. Yeah, fair enough.
But offensive line's got to be better for this offense to be better going forward. So far what we have seen is an offense that is very explosive, but they are not at all consistent. They struggle to sustain drives. Now, this is a system that thrives off explosive plays. This is a system that tries to create those big explosive plays, and explosive plays are one of the most important things you can have as an offense. You want to have the ability to be quick strike, hit those big plays down the field. No doubt about it. That is a huge key of thing you want to do is hitting the big plays. But there are times you also have to be able to nickel and dime your opponents a little bit. There are times you have to be able to get those 5-6 yard gains with consistency, and they've not been able to do it all that well. And there's basically two options. Either there's the one side of it, which I think most people would lean to, which is you got to get better at running the football. And that was a point of emphasis for them in the offseason. I talked about it in the preview for Arizona State. I don't believe bulking up the offensive line, getting better tight ends in, getting Fluff Bothwell was a matter of them saying we are going to be a run-first team or a run-heavy team. But I do think it was them saying when we have situations that we need to be able to run the football, we can lean on the ground game. So far, through 2 weeks, they've not been able to lean on the ground game. Now, again, to be fair, when Arizona State's kind of loading the box, that's one thing. William, when you have two very running backs, you better be able to run the ball. No, I agree. And this is the problem, though. Even though you have two talented backs, if your offensive line sucks, there's only so much those running backs can do. And both those guys made some plays. And the offensive line doesn't suck, but they've got to get better up front. They have to be able to do a better job of blocking in the run game. So that is something that you can lean on. The other side of it is you could diversify your pass game more. This is something Lebby did more of at Oklahoma with Dylan Gabriel and the group of receivers that he had. They didn't just run the old school Bryles, everything is a deep shot down the field or deep shot or comeback offense. Like they had a more diverse passing scheme where they found a lot of different ways to throw the football. We've seen some of that at Mississippi State. We haven't seen as much of it this year as I thought we would. Now, against Southern Miss, I totally get super vanilla offense. They were kind of pretty basic with a lot of stuff they were doing offensively against Arizona State as well. And it surprises me a little bit to see some of the stuff they're doing in the passing game, how simple they have kept it. And I don't think that's going to change the next couple of weeks because the opponents that you're playing. But I'm curious if by the time you get to Tennessee, what you are breaking out from a pass game standpoint, because that is your other option. I don't think you can continually throw the football as like everything you do for the focus of your offense if you are only throwing a vertical shot or throwing a comeback, which is mostly what they do. You have to have some other ways that you can throw the football. So they've got to get better from a consistency standpoint of moving the ball, which is going to come back on the offensive line. That's the big thing on offense. Everything else, Blake, I mentioned he was a little iffy in the second game despite a big stat line, but I think you're mostly fine there. Defensively, honestly, at this point, it just comes down to who steps up for Will Whitson. I don't know what I would have said about this if he wasn't healthy, because as good as they have played, I can't put much on the defense. They have got to find somebody else who can be a big-time pass rusher now. That is kind of the big thing for them. Can you find a big disruptor? If they find someone who can adequately give them what Will Whitson gave them and get more consistent moving the ball on offense, this team is going to be good. And there is a fair point to be had that through Mississippi State is 2-0, and 2 games that could have been very losable. Even the Southern Miss game could have been losable. They are 2-0, and they have not played a complete game either time. They're 2-0, and they've had some very clear mistakes both times they've been out there on the field. That's the sign of a team that's got good potential. If they clean things up and fix a few things, this could be a really good ball club.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the little things, like my grandmother says, she says, just take care of the small things and the big things will happen for you. And that's where Mississippi State's at right now. They don't have major concern, major issues. I mean, maybe a few, but it's those small little things of, can we amp up the pass rush a little bit? Can our offensive line play a 4-quarter game? Can we be consistent in this area or that area? And you saw, even though they got the win, you saw that this was not a perfect performance against Arizona State. This Alcorn State team this week, like this, Andrew, this is the perfect game to have a perfect game. I'm not saying you got to make every throw, every touch, every drive's got to be a touchdown. Well, actually, let me say this. I think with Alcorn State, maybe you probably do want to, as Mississippi State, you want to score every drive, but it doesn't have to be an 80-yard bomb every time. If you want to get creative and only get a couple yards here or there, that's fine. But the small things, the not a whole lot of penalties in the game type of thing. They
I
I
haven't listened
couldn't
to
help
Peyton in a while, but
that.
I guess he says that. I used to listen to Peyton quite a bit. I have nothing. Peyton put up a Starkville versus everybody signing the show, so shout out to Josh Pate. I just haven't listened to a show in a
Yeah.
long time.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that every detail of the game of football matters. It's like life, and Mississippi State's got to find those small things they're not good at and just continue to improve on those, and they'll be right where they need to be by the end of this season.
You do have a good point. I mean, look, this is an opportunity against Alcorn State to fix a lot of things. It's a chance for a couple guys to heal up, although obviously there's no healing up for Will Witz and Blake Steen. They're done for the year. But a guy like Jet Jefferson, you don't want to have to bring him back, which we haven't seen him yet, but that's another corner that once he's healthy, he was having a good offseason, had a good camp, that I feel like that's a guy who contribute. Offensive, can you get some things sorted out up front with the offensive line against a team in Alcorn State that you should take advantage of? Look, if State has struggles along the offensive line against Alcorn State, then we actually do have to start having some real long-term concerns for what this team's going to be this season. Like, this should be a game where the offensive line, you just play clean, and it shouldn't be a concern. That's going to be a really important thing for them to get those things cleaned up. But, yeah, look, if State can correct some of the small errors, we're talking about a team that could end up having a really nice season. And, look, they're already receiving some votes for the top 25. I was a bit not surprised they're not ranked. I thought they'd be a little bit higher. They're like number 32 in the receiving votes category, but or 32 overall, so they are in receiving votes. But if you're 4-0, I think you're going to be ranked going into the Tennessee game. So you have a chance to get yourself into the national spotlight a lot more. Bowl projections already coming out with Mississippi State. I saw a Birmingham Bowl projection, and I'm like, man, I'd kill for a Birmingham Bowl right now. Like, that's not something you would normally say, but I would take it right now with where the program has been. Like, this one from T. Watley, getting Burrows up to speed should be pretty big. Yeah, Jamil Burrows, someone that they wanted to count on the defensive line, didn't get to play week 1, got some snaps in week 2. It's that someone can be a big impact player for you. That would be absolutely massive. So this is a week to get a chance to really take a step forward.